Hello and thanks for joining us on the news at this hour on NT International. I am Elizabeth Omori. Now the headlines.
What this bill seeks to do is to empower the NCT in several areas, in matters of quarantine and the administration of public health and infectious diseases.
As Senate approves 850 billion naira loan to finance budget deficit, House of Representatives to repeal Quarantine Act embraces up to empower Nigerian Center for Disease Control. ECOWAS closes offices in Abuja and Lagos. Direct staff to work from home till further notice. Nigeria's First Lady donates medical equipment to heal health workers to fight COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us. The Presidential Task Force Chairman Bas Mustafa says Mr. President's broadcast provided leadership on the fight against coronavirus while ensuring that the rights of Nigerians are respected and the vulnerable are protected. He said the lockdown for FCT Lagos and Ogun State shall remain in force till midnight of Sunday, 3rd of May 2020, after which a new regime of measures shall take effect from May 4th for gradual return to daily routine in a moderate manner.
These measures will continue to be elaborated from today and subsequently by the Presidential Task Force. Paragraphs 38 to 41 outlines the new measures and gives the Presidential Task Force the mandate to provide specific details.
This is a very ambitious target. We're working very hard with our development partners and all our friends to equip our labs to be able to do this. It's going to cost us a lot of money.
President Buhari used the opportunity to brief the American president on the steps Nigeria is taking to contain the spread of the disease. For his part, President Trump assured that the United States stands in solidarity with Nigeria in this difficult time and promised to send ventilators to support the country in its fight against the pandemic.
Of Health, Dr. Osagie Harnire said relaxation of lockdown will require much more stringent compliance to coronavirus advisories by Nigerians. He said the 9-man federal government fact-finding delegation is already in Kano, just as emergency ambulances have also been deployed to support the COVID-19 fight in the states.
The elderly and anyone with pre-existing medical conditions such as hypertension, tuberculosis, chronic respiratory disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer should not attend gatherings and should avoid receiving non-essential guests.
In terms of public awareness, we would like to enjoin Nigerians to please comply with the new protocols that will come in to sufficiently allow for adequate tracing, testing and isolation of cases as we begin to reopen our economy.
The Presidential Task Force urged Nigerians to avoid non-essential travels to prevent interstate spread of coronavirus. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has assured both the government and people of Kano State that efforts have been made towards finding a lasting solution to the strange ailment ravaging the state and to further curtail the rising cases of COVID-19. Mohammed Rabi Ali reports that the Technical and Logistic Committee of the Task Force disclosed this during a fact-finding and reinforcement mission to Kano.
The delegation of Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 Technical and Logistics are in Kano to evaluate, support and reinforce areas that need to be addressed together with the State Committee on COVID-19. The case of Kano State, the team leader Sani Gorzo says, President Muhammad Buhari is concerned, especially with the rising cases of coronavirus and increase in the number of deaths in the last few days, hence the need for the intervention.
Mr. President's directive is very simple. He gave us the marching order through the Honorable Minister to come to Kano and work with the teams and find out what do they need in terms of support.
We're going to work with your team to ensure that we dig the remote and any other cause of the so-called frequent deaths that are occurring.
The team further said, with the support of all and sundry, COVID-19 will be defeated not only in Kano State, but Nigeria as a whole. Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje commended President Muhammad Buhari for his prompt response in the fight against the highly contagious disease in the state, promising to give all it takes to support the team achieve the set goals.
And I believe you are coming to Kano, you will see extensively all the areas and see where intervention will come in immediately.
It is expected that the anxiety of Kano people and other Nigerians will be met at the end of the mission. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
Countries around the world have begun to lay down their exit plan to ease coronavirus lockdown restrictions as daily infections and death rate decline. Joyce Someto has an update on the global pandemic.
The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC confirmed 64 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. A breakdown indicates that Lagos has 34 cases, 15 in FCT, 11 in Borno, 2 each in Taraba and Gombe states. As at 11:20 p.m. 27th of April, there are 1,337 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, 255 discharged, while 40 have died. The United Nations is warning of excessive force in COVID-19 response in Africa. The agency says shooting, detaining and abusing people is unacceptable. As at 6 p.m., a tally by Worldometer shows that the continent has 34,364 cases of COVID-19, 1,475 deaths and over 10,000 recoveries. Meanwhile, data compiled by Johns Hopkins University as at 6 p.m. indicates that worldwide 3,092,400 coronavirus infections have been confirmed, while 213,341 people have died from the virus. Minutes of silence was held across the UK in remembrance of key workers who have died from COVID-19. More than 100 National Health Service staff have died from the virus, as well as many transport and other key workers. Spain has recorded 301 new deaths from coronavirus in 24 hours, a decrease from Monday's figure of 331. The national total figure now stands at 23,822. Spain and France are set to unveil plans to relax lockdowns that have been in place for several weeks. And lastly, Gabon's Prime Minister has eased lockdown restrictions in the capital, Libreville. The government has instead imposed a dusk-to-dawn curfew and allowed shops to reopen. Schools and places of worship will remain closed. The country has so far confirmed 211 cases of coronavirus, including 3 deaths. And that's it from here. Many thanks for staying. I am Joyce Umetu.
Thank you, Joyce. Still talking COVID-19, 162 civil society organizations have been mobilized as volunteers to assist government in containing the coronavirus pandemic in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. This was at the unveiling of Situation Room on COVID-19 by the Economic, Social and Cultural Council of the African Union. The establishment of the Situation Room is in line with the African Union's stance on organization support for governments at all levels as the fight against coronavirus pandemic intensifies.
Data gathering in audio and feature shall be collated at the situation room for detailed analysis to establish a firm decision to set up an advisory framework for government to have a sustainable emergency preparedness and coordination of support from all stakeholders.
Learn from African Union member states in the fight against the virus is expected to be previewed for experience sharing that will serve as a guide to improve situation performance. We are now being joined in the studio by Senator Tayo Alashuadura, Minister of State, Minister of Niger Delta, to talk more on the situation room of the Economic, Social and Cultural Council of the African Union. Senator Tayo, it's nice to have you in our studio.
Thank you.
All right, what informed the establishment of this situation room in Nigeria, and what does it seek to achieve?
Well, once again, I want to thank you. I was approached recently by the AU ECOSOC Nigeria COVID-19 Situation Room coordinator, and when he explained to me what the situation room would look like, I was very impressed.
Okay.
The situation room is to coordinate, plan, and report, what is happening about COVID-19. It is a place that is necessary. Even during wartime, governments, troops usually create war rooms. So this is a war without bombs, without guns, but it is a war that must be planned for, a war that must be monitored, and a war that must be prepared for. So that is the essence of the situation room that has just been created.
All right, with 162 civil society organizations in place, how do you determine and coordinate the activities of members?
Well, that is the essence of the situation room. If you have that large number of people who are going to work together, who are going to cooperate, who are going to work differently, there must be a place where the activities must be coordinated, monitored, and reported upon. And I believe that the situation room that was created by the ECOSOC that brought all these people together will do a good job monitoring the activities of these organizations and ensuring that they are effective and they do what they are expected to do.
So are all African countries represented?
Of course, all Africans are in this one.
Okay.
And the West African countries are particular about this particular one. Now you will remember that our president, President Muhammadu Buhari, was made the chairman of the heads of state to fight COVID-19. So if our president had been given this fantastic position, very, very responsible position, it behoves on us in Nigeria to ensure that we give him the necessary support, hence the creation of this situation room.
Okay. Now, most Nigerians are edgy, so what do we stand? What do we get from this? What do we gain?
What we will gain is, like I said, we ensure that everything that is happening about COVID-19 is being monitored, not only by government, because government cannot do everything. What we have now will be a situation where a lot other organizations will be working at the same level that the government is working, but with different perspective. Monitoring government.
Okay.
Mr. President has set up a lot of committees. State governments have set up a lot of committees. How are they working? How are they related? What is the synergy between them? These are part of what this situation room will bring about to ensure that Nigeria benefits.
Okay, the lockdown will be relaxed in Lagos, Ogun, and the FCT. So what do you think this would do? Do you think it will help us curb the spread of COVID-19?
Well, it's not about curbing coronavirus or COVID-19 alone that we have to think about. There must be a balancing game.
All right.
The economy has been shut down for about 5-6 weeks now. Are we going to continue like that perpetually? We must start thinking of opening up the economy so that people will not die of hunger. those of us who are politicians, we know how many demands we receive every day. People telling us that they are dying, their children don't have food to eat, and you know, a lot of our people are daily paid workers, artisans, market women, etc. So unless something is done urgently, and Mr. President has seen this and has decided that as from Monday, the economy will start being opened up stage by stage so that we can bring up our economy again, in par with what is happening in other developed economies.
All right, Senator Tai, before I let you go, how are you keeping safe?
Well, all will be well at the end of the day, because everybody is trying to ensure that this virus, this scourge, is killed, not only in Nigeria but the world over. And people have been coping one way or the other. And I personally have been coping by doing a lot of exercise, working from home, and so on and so forth. And I believe at the end of the day, we will win this war by the grace of God.
Amen. All right, Senator Tayo Alashwadora, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. You're still watching the News on 90 International, reaching you live from Abuja. Let's take a breather now. More reports to come.
Do you not know that our enemies have no face? They are indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
Alright everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV, live it, love it.
Thanks for staying with us. And now to activities on the floor of the National Assembly. The Senate has reconvened from its 6 weeks recess, approves 850 billion naira new external borrowing plan from the international capital market as requested by President Muhammadu Buhari for financing the 2020 budget deficit. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
After COVID-19 forced the Senate to abruptly adjourn on the 24th of March 2020, the legislators are now back to continue the fight from the chamber. Members of the Ninth Senate for the first time jettisoned their conventional sitting arrangement as provided in their Standing Order 11 in observance of physical distancing. Rising from a closed-door session that lasted 2 hours 30 minutes, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, reminded his colleagues of the scourge of COVID-19 and the need for legislative reinforcement.
Government has responded well under the recommendations of scientists and health experts. We will continue in our efforts in the interest of our good health.
To thank the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for how far and what he has done so far.
Reviewing the national response to the challenges of COVID-19 and the way forward was the only motion on the order paper. Leader of the Senate, Abdullahi Yahaya, and 50 other senators sponsored it.
Senate urges the executive to set up a national technical committee on COVID-19 made of relevant scientists and health professionals
to watch over diseases that require funding let us be, as much as possible, demonstrate statesmanship.
The raging agitation that's more or less trying to rush Mr. President to reopen the country. Mr. President, I'm worried.
For the legislators, the executive needs to reorganize the National Response Implementation Strategy and to seize the opportunity of the pandemic to restructure the Nigerian economy by appropriating 10% of gross domestic product to strategic sectors of the economy as stimulus for investment.
I commend Mr. President. He answered our calls, our cries in Kano.
There is really a need for Kano to be really supported.
We must invest in science and technology.
They observed a minute silence in honor of the late former Chief of Staff to the President, Malam Abba Kyari, and all those who lost their lives to COVID-19. Senate advised the executive to speed up the submission of the revised medium-term expenditure framework, fiscal strategy paper, and the 2020 budget for consideration. It reshuffled leadership of 3 committees. Senator Surajuddin Ajibola is now chairman Senate Committee on Media and Publicity. Senate has suspended plenary till further notice. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
As part of legislative interventions to contain coronavirus pandemic, the House of Representatives passed for second reading the Control of Infectious Disease Bill, which seeks more power to the National Center for Disease Control to enable it effectively take charge during health emergencies, such as containing the spread of COVID-19. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The Control of Infectious Diseases Bill, sponsored by House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila and 2 other members, was among the first items considered. It seeks to repeal the Quarantine Act in existence, which the lawmakers say is outdated.
What this bill seeks to do is to empower the NCDC in several areas, in matters of quarantine and the administration of public health and infectious diseases.
The bill passed second reading while consideration for passage was moved to next sitting. The motion from House Leader Alhassan Adodogwa on the health crisis in Kano State and the need to urgently implement presidential directives on the matter was supported by House members.
Some of the deaths we recorded may not be unrelated or unconnected with the COVID-19 infection, but it is believed, even by the medical professional in the state, that there must be something behind or aside the COVID-19.
I do not know whether it is coronavirus. Were some associated with malaria, others associated with other ailments. But Mr. Speaker, the class of people, the age of people that are dying in Kano cannot be explained otherwise.
The special intervention that has been given to Lagos and FCT be extended to Kano State.
The issue of alleged discriminatory acts against Nigerians in China under the guise of containing the spread of coronavirus was condemned by the lawmakers as moved by Representative Benjamin Kalu. House members also adopted a motion from 4 lawmakers urging the federal government to ensure the provision of personal protective equipment and regular release of special intervention funds to all federal tertiary hospitals in Nigeria. The Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, in an address at the commencement of plenary, commended the federal government for setting up the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, adding that the lockdown and curfew are necessary interventions. In view of the lockdown order due to coronavirus, House members decided to adjust the standing order pertaining to sittings and resolved that henceforth plenary will be held once every week until the lockdown order is lifted. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari Monday approved a phased and gradual easing of lockdown measures in the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos and Ogun states, effective Monday, 4th of May 2020. Sequel to this approval, President of the ECOWAS Commission has directed the closure of all ECOWAS offices in Abuja and Lagos until Monday, 4th of May 2020. ECOWAS staff in Abuja and Lagos are therefore advised to continue working from home until further notice. The President of ECOWAS Commission also encouraged staff to adhere strictly to health advisory, social distancing and other protocols from relevant authorities in the country. Nasarawa State Government says it is implementing more stringent measures in tandem with federal government's directive as index case of coronavirus pandemic emerges in the state. Governor Abdullahi Sule at a meeting in Lafia identifies the first case as a female traveler from Kano. Ali Tijani Mohammed reports.
Nasarawa State status has changed with the index case from Garaku community along Kefi Akwanga Road who returned from Kano.
So for the first time, we had a lady that tested in Kokwana and she's positive.
All contacts of the index case have been isolated while the patient is being managed at the Dalhatu Arab Specialist Hospital, Lafia. Government says 14 days of quarantine awaits anyone returning from parts of the country. The total lockdown of Karo has been extended for additional 10 days, while the 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew in parts of the state is still in force.
The government is drawing the attention of us to reduce movement and traveling up and down, especially with the restriction of interstate travels.
The police and other security agencies are more now focused on how to enforce proclamations and regulations.
However, farming activities are to resume across the state, while the ban on social and religious gatherings, as well as the use of motorcycles and tricycles, are still against the directives of containing the pandemic. In Lafia, Aliu Tijan Mohammed, NTA News.
Meanwhile, First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, has commended efforts of the frontline healthcare workers, especially volunteers, for their steadfastness and selfless contributions in the fight against COVID-19. The First Lady stated this in a message when she donated medical equipment to frontline healthcare workers in Abuja. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
In response to government call for the need of collective effort in fighting the spread of coronavirus, the First Lady of Nigeria has donated personal protective equipment to frontline healthcare workers who are participating voluntarily in the fight to defeat the pandemic. This decision, according to the First Lady in a message, is necessary considering the need to protect the healthcare workers who undoubtedly are the most vulnerable group in this battle. Equipment such as disposable gowns, overall suit and disposable surgical mask were among the items donated.
We are here to present, or rather donate, personal protective equipment in the form of protective disposable gowns, N95 masks, surgical face masks, hand sanitizers, goggles, and other protective devices. We are donating to a group of professional healthcare providers who voluntarily on their own decided to advocate and solicit for support and assistance on behalf of fellow healthcare workers working in various hospitals across the country.
The founder of an NGO, Mask for Nigerian Medics, Dr. Ilham Ahmed Umar, received the items on behalf of the healthcare workers in Nigeria.
We're very thankful today. We plan on providing these PPEs that Her Excellency has provided to donate PPEs to general hospitals within Abuja. These general hospitals include Wuse District Hospital, Maitama District Hospital, Yanya, Kubwa, and Gwarimpa General Hospitals. We cannot show the amount of gratitude we have.
While promising to remain committed in supporting the government in the fight against COVID-19, the First Lady noted that the contribution has become necessary in response to a call on the need for countries to strengthen their healthcare facilities' infection prevention control measures. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
And that ends the news at this hour on NTA International. Thank you so much for being a part of it.